Hello, this is Nono here. This is my first public live stream test. And today we have everything set up to do a live editing of the Getting Simple podcast. So this is going to be the May 2020 episode that I hope to release in the next week. And spoiler alert, this is an episode I haven't released yet. Is with Kian Walmsley. I recorded this last Monday morning. And yeah, so I just wanted to test if the setup is going well, if there's anything that doesn't work. I'm streaming for the first time live. I've done a bunch of tests offline. And yeah, the hopes is that at least this gets two things. One is that you can see the inside process of what I do to edit, or at least a tiny bit of it, because I don't have a lot of time to edit right now. And then the second thing is that I get a bit of work done and get a bit of this episode edited. So let's get started. I'm gonna take out that background music that I put in here that I was gonna forget to remove, and we're gonna get into it. So this is Adobe Audition. So this is what I use to edit the podcast usually, and it's just like Adobe's tool for audio editing. It's super powerful. I have tried other software, but I don't know them in depth. But this is the one I'm most comfortable with. So you can see I have already a session. So this is what's called a multi-track. So you can either edit a waveform in Adobe Audition or edit a multi-track, right? Waveform is editing an audio file, just the audio file itself. It can be mono or stereo. And the multi-track is this multi-track, as the name says, where you can have multiple of those waveforms in different clips and many different arrangements. So the one thing to note is that what I have here is the full length interview. So we recorded for 2 hours and 10 or 20 minutes or so. And I've already selected what I want to stay on the interview without moving the parts of as they were on the actual conversation, right? This is something I'm starting to do as of late, because that helps me out then later syncing these parts of audio with the video if I have recorded video, and it makes it easier for me to synchronize that, right? So then we can see that I already have set up at the beginning template for the opening music. This is muted here, but we can hear it. So usually I might re-record this part.
Hey, it's Nono, and this is the Getting Simple podcast.
But that's there, that I have a template where that's already there, and I know the timing that the intro music takes. Well, this actually is missing this part here.
Welcome to the Getting Simple podcast.
Right, so after this jump here, so after the sound of the music decreases, the interview will start, right? And usually I try to do something like this.
Okay, I'm recording as well.
Well, not this one, but the entry point would be, I guess...
Hey, it's Nono, and this is the Getting Simple podcast.
So this would go at the beginning with the intro, and here...
Before we get started, I'd like to remind you that you can find a detailed list of episodes.
Yeah, I have a little intro. I have to mute this track as it was before. And I believe probably here, because I see Kian was also speaking in there. So this is the
Hi
intro.
everyone, it's Nono here. Today I'm excited to introduce you to Kian Walmsley. Hi Kian, how are you doing today?
Hi Nono, I'm well, thank you.
Kian is a researcher at Autodesk that works out of...
Okay, so I think it's enough for the introduction, right? So we have here these two main tracks. That's for... We can actually change the name here. So this is Kian Walmsley and Nono here. And this track is for the theme songs and music, and some other stuff here for the Getting Simple one. So in this case, what I did is that I have these two tracks. So if I click here and click 1, so I click the number 1, I get into the waveform editor of Kian's track.
So I've done some student work in both those places and suggesting this.
And, you know, if I zoom out, I can see the whole conversation.
Because I've not been able to get much exercise.
And one thing to note is that once you go inside this file, so if let's say I go into here.
So I didn't get a job.
I can click there and click 1.
So I didn't get a job.
And it gets me inside the file exactly at that location. So I am gonna go back, and you know what I intend to try to start doing today is edit this track and this track, or at least one of them, right? Usually I do a session editing. So this is first pass that has to do with content. So I remove the things that are not to be on the interview. For instance, you know, you can see here I have something that's been left out, and that's just probably a break that we took, and you see there's nothing there. It might be just crackles or us talking, oh, let's take a break and come back in a few minutes, right? Once the content is edited, right, I could outsource this to someone else because I know that what's in there is what I want to sound, maybe without the ums and and other things like that. And what I have to do is go inside of the file, so like this one, and edit how that track actually sounds, right? So in this case, my girlfriend will be jealous as well, because there's so many places you've been. I've actually, this track, you know, I'm more familiar with it because this is recorded with my home microphone, and that's the one I tend to use. So one thing that I can pop up here, let me bring that, is a Google Sheets document that I have, and this is a practice that Aziz Barbar showed me, where you just have the workflow for editing an audio file that you're going to use consistently throughout episodes to use the same workflow, but you can keep track of things like, for instance, what microphone you use in each time, so at what time, and what effects you actually apply to the file, right? So you can see here, for instance, in this one that says Nono stories are the answer. I know that I did it with the Shure SM58 Zoom 8.6 microphone, and I have a reference to what file I used in that case. So I can duplicate this sheet and just move it around. And what we're going to do here is going to keep track of all the effects that we apply to each of the tracks. So in case that we want to alter one of the parameters because we think that the gain is low, or some other thing that we've done shouldn't have been done that way, we know that everything else is properly set up. Let's see. So what I usually do is that I say, so this is Nono's voice. Let me just zoom in here. This is Nono's voice at Kian's episode, edition or edit 1, right? Or A. So if I do multiple edits, I can keep a log of them by recognizing each of them with a different letter. So if I go here now, what I usually do, I just reset this template. And the first thing, so this is not normal. I usually wouldn't do the audio gate at the beginning. The first thing I need to get is a noise print, right? That's the background noise that the room had when you were recording a part of the audio. So let's see what we got here. If this is long enough, we need to find, ideally you will get at least 1 minute of room noise. That's like I think it's the noise floor or something like that it's called. funnily enough, here I have a few minutes in which Kian is talking and I'm not talking, and because we did this interview online, you can get an empty track, but I was doing some noises with paper. So if we go back to the session, you have here one file that we recorded specifically for this purpose. This is the background noise. You can see this minute is all just a really low frequency, which is the room noise that we recorded before starting. So I'm gonna try to do, so I do Command Shift P, I get out this menu where I can capture the noise print here, and I can save this. Yeah, so overwrite. And you know, if I were to preview the output of applying this filter, you see here, this is in this bottom here, you can either see the wave or see the wave and the preview editor, right? So you can see how the audio wave is going to be affected on the file if I apply the filter, right? You can see here, for instance, that these areas would disappear if I click on apply, right? So now the audio goes completely silent there because we've removed the noise properly, right? This is not what we want to do right now. So what we want to do is go into the actual file. This is my file. So go into my track here, go into the noise reduction filter and try to load that. So we load a sample from a different file into this file, and that way what we're doing is that we're bringing the background noise I was recording in an individual file into the larger session. This is possible only if the file has the same hertz and bits, right? So this file is, as you can see here, 44,100 hertz and 16-bit. I don't think that you can do that if you have files that have different settings. All right, so what am I doing here? So I'm going to remove the preview so that doesn't take that long. The one thing that we want to see, so the preview is interesting here because at the beginning of the interview, right, if I do this, we should see if the noise print is the same, we should see it disappear here. So the background noise should leave. But there's some times where across the recording might be, in this case was, I think, because of my laptop's fans noise. You see there's some things there that I don't know if it's me moving papers. Yeah, it might be. But, you know, and it seems like the noise gets removed pretty well. Let me see if I do... Sometimes, you know, if you're in a recording studio, I was recording at my house, you don't really care about this because the noise is almost non-existent, and just by getting a little bit of the effect in, you're going to remove the whole thing. We're going to capture the noise print here. See, it's slightly different already. And now we're going to preview how that would look if we edit, if we remove the noise from this file. You know, one thing that's interesting is that it seems like the computer slows down when I'm streaming and editing at the same time, probably because I'm using the hardware encoder, and these tasks for editing audio also are using the GPU. Right. So yeah, what I noticed when I was looking at this recording is that at the end of my audio track, there is a little bit of background noise that comes from the fan of my machine. So what I wanted to try is to see if I do apply the noise removal filter here. Would it disappear? Yeah, it mostly disappears. There's still a hum there, but I think that will get removed by using the dynamics audio gate filter. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna apply the file, so the noise reduction filter to this file. As you can see, I'm using the same settings that I had listed on my Google Doc. So this is like 25 dB, 75%, and then there's like 50%, 9, 8192, 1, and 0, right? So those are the values there. I didn't really keep track of where I got the noise reduction print from, but that doesn't really matter that much. And then we're just gonna apply it. As I was saying, I don't think this would take that much if we were not streaming, but you know, that's something that I didn't think about, that this will slow down the process slightly. Okay, so let's review this thing here. So we now can see, okay, we got the noise reduction print, we've got the noise reduction process, and usually what I do, I apply a single band compressor, I do hard limiting, and you know, the single band compressor compresses the higher frequencies, the higher volumes there, and the hard limiter just cuts them, the ones that are above a certain threshold. And that's because then when you do normalize, you know, if you have a really high peak somewhere just because you snapped or you did some weird noise or there's some background noise, then the normalize process will stretch your audio wave, so the volume up to only where the top of that spike, right? So we cut those spikes that we don't really care about, and many times are even in parts of the audio that we've cropped from the final interview. And that in some way, these three in combination are some way speech leveler filter that we're doing there. All right, so this seems like it's taking a bit of time. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try just to put a, maybe, well, we'll just wait. Let's see. So after that, we're doing the parametric equalizer, single band compressor, hard limiter, normalize. Yeah, sometimes I don't even do this. I think this microphone sounds fairly well already, that we don't need to do that. But sometimes after you do this, the audio wave changes again, and you need to compress again to make sure the normalization levels everything out. The de-esser is to remove the noise of the S's. There are different filters for men and women and different types of voices. Speech volume leveler, I'm not using that much, that later. The auto gate I love. This is what, you know, it removes on the valleys. When you have the gates or valleys are when you can imagine like you have a peak, and then when the audio wave goes to silence, there is always a transition. Maybe sometimes you inhale or exhale or do some other noises like that, and sometimes there's small crackling. So what the audio gate lets you do is leave the parts of the audio where you're speaking the same way, and then on those valleys actually take them to 0, and you mark the threshold and also how fast or slow the audio is going to be released after you cut it. Okay, so we just have 26 seconds. I'd like to ask, is there anyone there? Is there anyone there online? It seems like there are 2 concurrent viewers, but I don't really know if it's just me or if there's somebody online at the moment. And there is a bit of lag, so when you type, I won't get the message until a few seconds later. All right, so we have removed the silence, so let's see how this sounds without
Pixman
the noise.
And the other one you mentioned, Jacob Small. Alvaro asked you, what routine do you follow to always have such a neat beard?
Right, that sounds pretty good. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna look at the entire file. We're gonna scroll here to amplify a bit the audio wave. And as you can see, there's some peaks, right? So there are some peaks where, I don't know what this is. You see this is crackling noise.
Okay. Okay, so everything set up.
You see those are noises that we really don't want to be there.
That motivation with other people. One way.
Okay, so let's do one thing. So on the file here, I have -14. So that's usually what I have to use for my microphone. That will compress everything. Let's see if I can, where can I get this tool? So if I get this selection tool, I can select here, everything above -14 would be compressed by the ratio that we set up. Here I'm going to use -15. So I'm going to do a single band compression. And I'm going to say I want to compress everything above -15. And I want to divide it by 4, right? So that doesn't really cut it. It compresses it. That's why that's the reason why that's the name of the filter, right? So if we come, let's go somewhere we have high peaks. Yeah, here for instance, right? So if I apply this to this part of the audio, right, you see how that gets compressed? So in here, we still have things that are above 15, but they're not that high. So I'm just gonna go with 15. I'm gonna remove the preview, and we're gonna apply that. All right, so this filter, right, I mentioned we've applied here. I'm gonna say here, this is with -15 for ratio, and this is done. So now we're gonna do a hard limiter. We just need to go by eye. So I would look here on the sine wave of the entire file and try to see what are the peaks that are getting out that we don't want them to be there, right? And then later we'll apply a normalization to stretch out the files to be at -3. So the volume is something that, that you can crank up the volume and you can hear properly. All right, so now we squeeze the file again. We now see that there are things above -15, but not too many. So I usually like to leave some span. So I had this at -15, and then, so -14, I killed everything above -12. But here, maybe we can go up to -13. Well, 13, even 14, I would say. So I'm gonna do hard limiter. I'm gonna cut everything above -13. Oh, -13. Let's see. Let's just do -14. So you can see here I have true peak, and then I click on apply. And yeah, this is gonna take some time. This usually on this machine doesn't take that long. Maybe we can put some background music there. And doesn't even work. Right. Okay, what we can do, what we're waiting. So as I mentioned before, having this is important. Sometimes effects take longer than others, and you might just forget about applying one of them, right? So you might apply the hard limiter, but you didn't know, or you might think that you've done the normalized process or the clicker, but you haven't really done it. So a good practice is to go crossing this off. This might seem too much for some people, but I like it to do it that way. Automating this whole thing, for me, I haven't found a good way yet because I have a few processing filters that need to be processed, which means that you cannot just apply them on a chain dynamically, and you will have to make an action, and that's something that I'm still working on. But I do like going through each effect and making sure that I'm applying the best settings for each of these effects according to the file that I'm editing. So yeah. Okay, one more minute. And one thing I'm going to show now, let me see. Okay, if I go out from here while this is saving, okay, so this is the history. So this is the history of the multi-track, right? So open, trim clips, rename track, and this is the things that I did before. If I go back into the file that we were editing again, and if I click the backtick button, I go between full screen on this panel to full screen on this panel, or this one, right? So you can focus on one panel. So in this one, in the history one, we have open and single band compressor, right? So this means that since I opened the file, the one effect that I've applied is single band compressor, which in some ways is weird because I thought I have applied the noise reduction one, and that might actually be bad news because I might have pressed Control Z without meaning to do that, and that would suck. But let's see. I mean, the thing that we've done there is that the noise print that we had before has been applied, but then later I might have gone back, and you can see that there's still parts of the background noise that we might want to remove. One thing to try is just to see if that gets removed automatically by the AutoGate filter that we're going to apply next, well, after the normalization. Okay, so yeah, the background noise is actually there, so this will be a good test just to see how that works. I'm gonna do, let's hope that this one is fast. So we're normalizing. So I usually normalize to -6 and then apply some more filters and then apply normalize to -3, but I'm just gonna normalize to -3. This one's fast because it's actually just stretching the wave, so it's not editing a lot of stuff. It's just, or nothing. It's actually just expanding the audio wave. All right. So you can see our all right. So this looks like we flattened it, right? But actually we didn't. So we just cut the tip after compressing. So we didn't really cut all the highs. We just compressed them and then cut the tops.
Yeah. Well, I would say that's awesome. That's like an awesome road trip. I think, one contrast, I'm here looking to the right out the window.
So I'm just going to get ahead and try to see if the audio gate actually makes me gain something there. So actually remove the background noise.
It is gonna be. 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 The live post.
Yeah, so I mean, this is something I've seen sometimes. The audio effect I do for the noise reduction, the filter is at a 75%, I think, and it doesn't really take out the whole thing, right? So I will take the rest out with this.
but actioning, but actioning, but actioning, but actioning, but I,
So I'm gonna skip the parametric equalizer. I'm actually gonna put here that I didn't apply the noise reduction effect because somehow it got deleted after I moved between screens. So between panels. All right, so we are gonna see, for instance, here if the noise, the auto gate actually serves as a noise removal that is good enough for us to not have to worry about that. And it actually seems like it does.
What about the, serendipitous encounters and networking?
Yeah, and every time I do that, just check up not the one part of the file that you just randomly pick, but pick some of them spread across the file just to make sure that that's actually working.
I don't know why I cannot say that. What would be a recent purchase of $100 or less? Which, made my trip a bit more stressful, but it also made so much better. I don't know, richer. I'd say I also made so much better. I don't know, richer. I'd say I also made so much better. I don't know, richer. I'd say I also made so much better. I don't know, richer. I'd say I also made so much
All right, so that seems like that might work. But one other thing that I'm just gonna go ahead and try is, I can get the noise print, for instance, from here.
cool.
All right, and that seems like that noise started gradually on the session, so it wasn't everywhere.
Or yeah, if you have any other little thing that you want to discuss before we go, or yeah, if you have any other little thing that you want to discuss before we go, or yeah, if you have any other little thing that you want to discuss before we go, or yeah, if you have any other little thing that you want to discuss before we go, or yeah, if you have any other
All right, so I mean, after all the effects we've done, I think I'm just gonna go and select the entire file and apply that noise reduction filter. So the parameters are the same that we had before, just that we've done that here. So we've done it a bit later than I usually do it. Sound will be probably a bit different, but I don't think we're gonna realize, we're gonna know the quality. So I'm gonna apply de-esser afterwards, and I'm gonna apply the autogate that we were playing with before. And let's see how the noise reduction filter affects the the gain, right? Like if the waves actually move around and stay out of that -3 normalization threshold. Well, and again, so this proves my point, right? I usually use this to make sure that what I have on my Google Sheets, on that Excel sheet, makes sense and is in sync to what I've actually done to the file. Because many times, I might have thought, if I didn't look at this, I didn't look at the other document, I might have thought that I had applied the normalize filter at the beginning, but then there was noise on the file. So this is a good way to track what you've done and what you haven't. And it's a good way to be able to go back and say, okay, I didn't actually do this effect, so I can go back and amend my mistake. Just while that's going, the recording gear that I have here with me right now and that I used for this podcast episode to record it is the Shure SM58. So this mic is like the quintessential microphone for performances, live performances and other things, and many people use it for podcasting as well. This is the next level, so you see the difference in price. I could get 3 of this, whereas I wouldn't have been able to get 1 of these. But this is like the way to go on podcasting. It seems is the professional standard. So that might be the next step if I want to upgrade at some point. And then this is what I'm using. So this Zoom H6 recorder lets you plug, if you have this peripheral that comes with the thing, you can plug a jack input or use this stereo mic as the first input, and then you can plug up to 4 XLR microphones. So I'm using one right now. So this is a Shure SM58, and I have my recorder right there sitting on my desk. The pricing, well, the recorder is not cheap. I think you can get it for $300. Maybe some now is more expensive due to all this thing with the coronavirus and all the stock and availability. But I think I paid $300, and these ones are like $100 a piece, and I think they sound pretty good. They're pretty sturdy. They're famous for being able to fall and keep working, so they don't break easily. And yeah, it's really important. Like if I'm recording close to the mic, I'm sorry if it's too loud, but the quality does increase a lot. So yeah, this is a recommended way if you want to sing, if you want to do a podcast, you want to do an interview, you want to do something where the audio is the important part, to be more comfortable, and just because it's easier to focus and you can see my face. I have the microphone here, which this room creates a bit of echo, and there is a trade-off in quality. And yeah, so it seems like the process of editing audio, at least with this machine, on the same machine I'm doing the streaming, is not a great option because it's slowing down a lot, and this I'm doing, I would be able to do a lot faster if these effects were actually getting completed faster. And what's going on? So I'm trying to look here because it seems, I guess it's just that the audio wave is not updating. Because if it is, the noise reduction is not working great. Okay, yeah, so it's actually removing a lot of that background noise. I think we're just gonna go with the de-esser. So I'm just gonna go with the de-esser. I always just try to go with the default option here. And just gonna do that. And this is also gonna take a long time. Okay, I think, this is not great. I think I might just do this as an offline tutorial and upload it. And we'll just go from there, because it doesn't seem like using the same machine to stream while I'm editing is a great workflow time-wise. Just to recap, I will do this de-esser. The next thing I'm gonna do this offline. I might just pause the streaming and see if that speeds up the connection, so it speeds up the editing. So I do the de-esser without doing this normalization here. I'm gonna do the dynamics autogate, the clicker, to remove the clicking, and I think that will make it. And this being a long session, just to edit one individual file. So I'm gonna stop the streaming, and I will continue in a second, just after I run those effects. Let's see how this is taking too long. Okay, I'll see you in a second. All right, so you see the difference now between these two files. So right now the difference is that this one has been normalized up to -3 and the other one hasn't. So this is really low.
Thanks for having me, Nono. It's
how you got to where you're today.
okay. Well, thanks for having me, Nono. It's
And we'll have to do the same with this one. So we'll have to clean it up and normalize it and make it sound better. So this actually was recorded in a room that didn't have any background noise, I feel. And you see there's almost no background sound.
okay with
You see, so
I see that regular basis, on a daily basis. So the closest I get to meditation in and of itself is when I'm doing some kind of physical activity.
all right, and there you go. So yeah, so that was a brief overview on how I edit the podcast. I think I'll have to do this offline because it takes too many resources from my machine recording locally, and maybe I can stop. Maybe I can stop recording locally, and that processing power might be used on Audition. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to try that out. Well, let's see what we have here. Just some music. Can this play? I don't really know why this didn't play. Well, that's playing now. So this was the first live stream that I've done publicly, just to test the waters, just to see how this process works and whether the connection is good, whether the quality is good, whether the computer freezes or not. And it seems it does slow down when I'm streaming at the same time that I'm editing the podcast. So that might be something that I don't do on the live stream, even though I wanted to. But yeah, we'll probably just see more content related to coding and programming and machine learning, workflow optimization, and some other things. Hopefully in a way that, I can do things while you're learning, and I can also, of course, adjust some of the things and topics that I'm going to cover on the live stream to the things that you're curious about and that you want to learn about. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe. There is like a little red face there, or there's a subscribe button that will not only show you the videos I upload, but also tell you when I'm going live. There is an option that you can set to receive the notifications. That's important because otherwise you won't know when I'm going live. So I don't really have a regular schedule yet to do that. And yeah, thanks again. Happy to do this. I hope it was helpful, and do let me know if it was helpful in any way. Bye. I'll see you next time.